Yo, what's up guys? Old School Dan here, and in this video I want to teach you my most advanced principle. It is about symmetry. Do you know about the first law of symmetry? This is like the first time you'll ever hear it in your whole entire life. It's something you've never ever heard before. You've never read it in a book. You've never probably seen someone talk about it on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. So I'm pretty much the first one on YouTube to be talking about this. And the first law of symmetry is something you must always follow. This is something some of the most greatest bodybuilders have ever, that just know this, like Frank Zane, Steve Reeves. They knew this and understood this. That is exactly why they are known as the most symmetrical, proportional, and aesthetic. And also, this video is going to clear up any confusion of why bodybuilders are so big nowadays. Everybody's always wondering, like, why are bodybuilders so big nowadays? They have like the big gut, their arms are too big, they have massive legs, massive arms, 23-inch arms. Crazy, that massive arm, man, it's massive. And people are like, why are they so big? And everybody's like banging on them and shit, but they don't know. This video is exactly why they're too big. So stay tuned, cue the intro, let's go. So, what is the first law of symmetry? Easy. I want you to write this down. I want you to let this sink in. The first law of symmetry is to match the amount of muscle mass to your skeletal framework. Once that muscle mass exceeds your skeletal framework, there can be no symmetry. Let me say that again. Match the amount of muscle mass to your skeletal framework. Once that mass exceeds your frame, there can be no symmetry. So I feel like you're a little confused on what that really means. Let me put this into perspective for you. Steve Reeves was 6'1", 225 pounds with a 29-inch waist and thigh. He had 19-inch calves, biceps, and neck. Now, compare Steve Reeves to today's standard guys, bodybuilders like Phil Heath. Steve Reeves was obviously not as big as them, but there's a reason why he didn't want to get that big. First of all, it's because follows the first law of symmetry. So just imagine if Steve Reeves had 23-inch neck, biceps, calves with a 29-inch waist, oh my bad, with a 32-inch waist and 29-inch thighs. What I just described was Phil Heath's measurements. Just imagine Steve Reeves 2 inches bigger everywhere. He'd be too big. He wouldn't be as aesthetic. It wouldn't match because that'd be too much mass for your skeletal framework. Just imagine Frank Zane if he shot up to 225 pounds. Look how big he would be. He would be massive. He had big thighs, big calves. He'd be too big. It'd be too much mass for his framework. Now, why do you think everybody bags on those bodybuilders nowadays, like Phil Heath, Kai Green? They're saying they're too big. They're bubble gut. They have these big old thighs because the amount of mass they produce on their body does not match their framework anymore. They've exceeded it. Now there's no symmetry, there's no proportions, there's no aesthetics. They're just too big. They've exceeded their proportions, they exceeded their symmetry. Now there's no symmetry at all. You see, Steve Reeves chased proportions, symmetry, and aesthetics. The new bodybuilders nowadays, they chase size, mostly size, because that is just the standard for today. If you want to compete in the Olympia with Phil Heath, you have to match his size. The only guy who can match that size is Kai Green. Or Big Ramy or whatever. You see, bodybuilders nowadays were actually, I'm talking about Phil Heath, Kai Green, guys like that, they were actually chasing shape, symmetry, proportions, and aesthetics. They wouldn't be that big. That is exactly why they created classic physique for guys who want to match the amount of mass they create to the skeletal framework. They don't want to be big. They don't want to be big whatsoever. They want to be aesthetic, symmetrical, and proportional. Is this making sense to you? I hope this is clicking. Alright, so let's start wrapping it up. We talked about the first law of symmetry. The reason why bodybuilders, everybody's bagging on those new bodybuilders nowadays, like Phil Heath, Kai Green, well, not new, is because they don't follow the first law of symmetry. The amount of mass they have has exceeded their skeletal framework. That is exactly the reason why they created classic physique. For the guys who want to match the amount of mass they have to the skeletal framework, so they can follow, symmetry, proportions, and aesthetics. That is also one of the reasons Steve Reeves didn't get any bigger. I don't think he wanted to be any bigger because he knew if he did, that'd be too much mass for him. I mean, just imagine Steve Reeves with 23-inch arms or 23-inch calves and a 30-inch waist and 32-inch thighs. That's way too big. That's out of proportion, symmetry, and aesthetics. Just imagine if Frank Zane was any bigger. If he got 2 times bigger, he'd be way too big for his frame. That is exactly why those two guys are known as like the king of aesthetics, because Steve Reeves trained for shape. He didn't really, that's why he didn't do much bench pressing or deadlifts or squats, because that kind of ruins the symmetry. Frank Zane obviously didn't squat that heavy, didn't do deadlifts, trained more for shape, not size. That is exactly why he's known for his symmetry. This makes a lot of sense. It's clicking. Alright, so if you like this video right now, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching. This is Osco Dan checking out. Peace.